Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I wanted to do something a little bit different from what I usually do, where we talk a lot about Raiders rumors on this show, right? Well, today I wanted to talk about the latest NFL draft rumors from Adam Schefter, because he put out an article early on Monday about a lot of the things that he's hearing around the National Football League. And I thought, let me take, based on some of the things that he is saying, because some of those reports have a direct impact on the Las Vegas Raiders. So I found 10 things. I know it's a lot. 10 things from what Schefter reported today that I thought potentially impacted the Silver and Black. Let's go to the first note here that Schefter had was around the Arizona Cardinals, and could they potentially be a team that trades back? One of the things that Schefter says is like, the Cardinals might be one of the most active teams in the first round, and the quote that I thought was very interesting from Schefter was this. Arizona General Manager Monty Ossenfort has advertised with the number 4 overall pick, his team is open for business, but no sales are expected to be final until the Cardinals are on the clock. Ossenfort has told teams around the league that have inquired about trading up that he wants to wait until he is in position to pick before agreeing to any trade. So I know on this show before we've talked about, hey, could the Raiders trade up to number 4 to go get Jayden Daniels or whoever they're going to be potentially picking at pick 4. That's the GM of Arizona telling you, hey, we're not taking any trades until we are officially on the clock. So some of the teams that Schefter reported that are interested in potentially trading up, we know that the Silver and Black are there. The Denver Broncos, which now after they traded for Zach Wilson, I don't know if maybe it's as likely. The Minnesota Vikings are absolutely a team looking to move up. They already made a deal with the Houston Texans. They have 11-23. And then another team Schefter mentioned, the New York Giants. So those are the 4 teams that are looking to move up here for pick number 4. At the end of the day, if the team that moves up for a QB, they're going to move up for a quarterback. And man, I hope it's the Raiders, because if the Raiders make that trade up, hopefully you were tuned into our live coverage, because we're going to be rocking and rolling on Thursday, April 25th. We're going to get the show started at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. But if you're wondering, Mitch, what does your schedule look like for the NFL draft this week? I'm going to be live Monday and Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, keeping it the same like we usually do. And then 90 minutes before, 1 hour before the NFL draft starts, set a calendar reminder, set an alarm. Chugs and I are going to be rocking and rolling for probably close to, 30 hours over that 3-day stretch there. It's a long day, long week, but I love doing it, and I love talking with all y'all. So please tune in. A lot of giveaways, a lot of prizes as well. Let's go to the next thing here. The Commanders drafting a quarterback. Now, one of the things that Schefter kind of notes, and we've obviously talked about Jayden, his connection with the Commanders. Their general manager has made it pretty straightforward comments of hey, we're going to take somebody at pick number 2. But the most recent thing that Schefter has said is, while Daniels would have liked more FaceTime with the Commanders officials during his visit last week, which included 3 of the top quarterbacks in the class, the signs continue to point to Washington taking him at number 2. The Commanders have been highly impressed with Daniels' ability, and they are not alone. One NFL head coach whose team is not in the quarterback market said he would take Daniels over Caleb Williams, who is expected to be drafted number 1 by the Bears. It's a no-brainer to me, the coach said. Jayden looks like the best guy in the draft. One of the things that Chugs and I are kind of arguing about on our live show, for those of you that are tuned in right now, is even though it has been reported that Jayden doesn't really want to go to the Commanders, Schefter now with his new report is saying that it still looks like it's going to be Jayden with the number 2 overall pick. And one of the things is do you take a player that's literally I don't know if I want to play for you? Up? Yeah, interesting. Yes, no. Will the Commanders draft Jayden Daniels? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. Again, a lot of these talking points are not necessarily around the Raiders, but you got to keep your friends close, and you got to keep your enemies closer. And right now, one of the enemies, it's the Washington Commanders. After this YouTube ad break, I am going to give you my answer, so scroll on down and give me yours. I would say right now there is a 50% chance Jayden is a Commander, and I am really, really hoping that Washington ends up drafting J.J. McCarthy. If somebody were to ask me, Mitch, what is your dream draft scenario? It is Caleb Williams going off the board at number 1. It is J.J. McCarthy going off the board at number 2. And then it is the Minnesota Vikings trading up with the New England Patriots to go get their quarterback in Drake May, which that means then Austin Fort, the Cardinals where we started the show, on the clock at number 4. Raiders trade up and go get Jayden Daniels. Let's go to another Schefter draft note here. It's around the New England Patriots and them trading that pick. So actually, when I put this show together and before this report came out from Schefter, Diana Rossini, she tweeted out that New England is right now currently fielding calls for the number 3 overall pick. I'll tell you what Schefter had to say about New England and the latest going on with the Patriots. But before I do, I got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Game Time. Whether you're looking to be in Vegas, maybe you're like Zach Wilson, you got traded to the Denver Broncos, and you're like, well, I was looking to do an event in New York. Luckily, they got the cancellation policy. Well, now I can go to Denver and I can look to see what's going on over there. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all in price, views from your seat, and their best price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS. If you don't know how to spell it, it's CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Some of the things that I love about Game Time, I love being able to view my seats from the venue. I also love the fact that they do have that event cancellation policy, because one of the things with Game Time is like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing this weekend, right? Well, I do know what I'm doing this week. I got the NFL draft. But a normal weekend, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to plan something and then be stuck to it. I like on a Saturday night, Alex and I are hanging out, and it's like, do you want to do something? And if she gives me the green light, then I can go on Game Time and I can get the tickets. Chugs, get your head out of the gutter. Download Game Time today. $20 off with code CHATSPORTS. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. Shout out to Game Time for sponsoring the Raiders Report. So here's what Schefter had to say on the Patriots. The Patriots slated to pick number 3 also have been fielding calls from teams. It would take a big offer for New England to move off that spot, knowing it needs to come out of round 1 with a quarterback. But the team has listened, and the Vikings, among others, have attempted to move up. The way that I would look at that, based on what Schefter said, is, to me, the number 1 team that's been the most aggressive is Minnesota. Like, to me, the Vikings, I think, have a better chance of going up and trading up for a QB than the Raiders do, because they've already got that head start of, hey, we already acquired an extra pick there at number 23. But the Raiders have tried to move up to number 3. The Patriots have said it's not enough. This has been a report. I am telling you something that I heard over the weekend. The Raiders have tried to move up already to see what it would cost. The Patriots have simply said no. More here from Adam Schefter on the Patriots. Some around the league believe if the Vikings can get as high as number 3, their preference would be quarterback Drake May from North Carolina, who was coached in high school by Minnesota's new quarterback coach, Josh McCown. But many are waiting to see what the Patriots value May versus J.J. McCarthy, and whether New England could make a play like the Cardinals, who made 2 trades in round 1 a year ago. So I know I sit up here on this show a lot of the times and I say, like, the reason why I want J.J. McCarthy to go off the board at number 2 is because Minnesota wants Drake May. They don't want Jayden Daniels. And if Drake May becomes available to them, then that's going to be the QB that they're looking for. It makes it a little bit less competition for the silver and black. The next thing coming up here is not breaking news whatsoever, but I do want to talk about it. Adam said Caleb Williams is a Bear. And Caleb Williams has met with some Bears players. They've already kind of done like their whole thing. The only team Caleb has met with is Chicago. The only team that knows his medical reports, the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams is a Bear, lock-loaded, number 1 overall pick. Next thing Schefter goes and talks about is the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Schefter refers to it as like the big opportunity that Jim Harbaugh has in year 1, because he really believes that this could be a team that is another trade-back candidate, or they just go get the number 1 receiver in this year's draft. Schefter on what the Chargers could do. If McCarthy sneaks into the first 4 picks, it will mean the Chargers, who hold the number 5 selection, will have the first non-QB pick. If McCarthy doesn't find his way into the first 4 picks, there could be a team calling Harbaugh and general manager Joe Horitz to trade for the number 5 pick and the chance to draft McCarthy. I'll tell you this right now. There's going to be a part of me that wonders, and if somebody asked me, Mitch, what's the craziest trade that could happen on day 1 of the NFL draft? Craziest trade that could happen on day 1 of the NFL draft? Again, I'm just throwing it out there. J.J. McCarthy's available at pick 5. Jim Harbaugh takes J.J. McCarthy at 5, and then they figure out a way to trade away Justin Herbert. That would be the craziest thing. The thing that's probably going to happen is Marvin Harrison Jr. would be on the board there at number 5. And the reason why I'm asking this is because Harbaugh literally got a Michigan tattoo over the weekend, okay? And he's a very, Michigan proud guy. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the clock, on the board at number 5, do they take him? Or do you see them go with a Malik Neighbors, a Roma Dunze? Do they go a different option here? If it was me, I would take Marvin Harrison Jr. if I was the Chargers. But does that mean Harbaugh's going to do it? Let me know what you guys are thinking down below. Type D for draft, type P for pass. Despite me playing all these crazy games here with Harbaugh, if you're a coach and you need a wide receiver, which, let's face it, that's what the Chargers need, if Harbaugh does not take Marvin Harrison Jr. and he's not the first receiver off the board, I think people should start questioning what Harbaugh's doing over there. We still got 5 more things that Schefter hits on in this most recent article for ESPN+. He also talks about the Seattle Seahawks drafting a quarterback, and the reason why that this is intriguing is Seattle picks at number 16, and they don't have a long history of taking quarterbacks in round 1. I believe they've only done it twice in the last, 20, 30 years or something like that. But what's interesting about this is, a lot of times we talk about Penix maybe being available in that back late round 1. What if Seattle's the team to watch that could take him? And based on what Schefter's saying, Penix at 16 could be an option. The Seahawks will have additional insight into a few local prospects, including quarterback Michael Penix Jr. and offensive lineman Troy Fautanu, who played at Washington, could be first-round picks. New head coach Mike McDonald hired former Huskies offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb and his OC and offensive line coach Scott Huff as his O-line coach, which means Seattle could have an intriguing decision to make if both are available when their pick comes up at number 16. With regards to Penix, though, it should be pointed out that the Seahawks are high on quarterback Sam Howell, who they traded for last month, and feel he offers some unique advantages. Now, one of the things that I do find interesting is I don't see Seattle taking Michael Penix Jr., but if he does fall down the board a little bit more because of all the moves that Seattle made, hiring a lot of those coaches, I do think that Seattle could be one of those sneaky teams where if Penix is on the board in round 2, that could be a team that potentially trades up and tries to get him, because I don't know if they're sold on Geno Smith being the future. Let's go to talk about Bo Nix now, because one of the quarterbacks that I do not want to land with the silver and black is Oregon quarterback Bo Nix. And another team that I've kind of hinted at the idea of, could this be a destination for Aiden O'Connell? I know they have Jimmy Garoppolo as their backup, but to me, the Rams are probably going to be looking for a young quarterback that can take over for Matthew Stafford, because they know it's not going to be Jimmy G. Schefter, in terms of Nix going to the Rams, I thought was kind of interesting. Should LA decide to look for a future successor for quarterback Matthew Stafford, who currently has no more guaranteed money on his contract after the season, general manager Les Snead could turn to a familiar face in Bo Nix. Snead was a graduate assistant coach at Auburn in 1993 when the school's quarterback was Patrick Nix, Bo's father. Patrick helped lead Auburn to an 11-0 record as a sophomore last season. Snead could go from watching one Nix make a mark on a team he was associated with earlier in his career to another Nix trying to make a mark on his team years later. I do know how the NFL works, and I know the NFL is a big, relationships type of league, and if you're going to take a quarterback that early, you need to have a solid relationship there. So what I figured is, we know Caleb's going off the board, Drake May, Jayden Daniels. Those are 3 QBs. You can bet on it right now, will go in round 1. However, J.J. McCarthy, I think he's going to end up going round 1. Does Penix go round 1? Does Bo Nix go round 1? Does Spencer Rattler go round 1? I don't think that one's going to happen, but we did see it was reported by Jordan Schultz that he could go round 2. And if QBs start going off the board, anything is possible. Let me know down below how many quarterbacks you think end up going in round 1. Because for me personally, the number that I'm going to bet on that QBs go in round 1, I'm going to bet on 5 quarterbacks going in round 1. And that's going to be some mixture of Michael Penix Jr., J.J. McCarthy, and the top 3 guys. I don't see Bo going in the round 1 because so many people to me don't value him as a round 1 quarterback. 4 is a guarantee. 5 is an interesting number. 5's probably the number that I'd be willing to bet on. Let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman, never afraid to make a trade. And that was one of the things that Schefter hinted at. I also thought it was intriguing because We talk about Quinyon Mitchell. We talk about Terry and Arnold both being available to the Raiders at 13. What happens if Philadelphia gets aggressive and tries to move up for one of the corners? That's what Schefter thinks is a possibility. If Roseman wants a corner at number 22, as many people around the league believe he could, he might have to move up again. Per sources, he already has been calling around, gauging what a trade-up might look like to be prepared for what has become a near-annual tradition. It's also worth noting Roseman, who has been Philly's GM since 2010, has never drafted a corner, tight end, running back, or safety in round one. The reason why that I'm bringing this up is because, again, I do think that there are certain teams that could end up trading back that are right in front of the Las Vegas Raiders. The team that I actually think could be that team is the Broncos if they're trying to stockpile some of that extra picks and some of the extra stuff that they gave away for Russell Wilson. If Philly wants to make a move to go get a Terry and Arnold or a Quinyon Mitchell, it's going to be a lot, but it's definitely a team to keep in mind. Let's go to then the final thing here, and it's around the Kansas City Chiefs drafting a receiver. Oh, there is one more thing after. When I think about Kansas City, it was always anticipated that they were going to be targeting a receiver, and Schefter kind of hits on this again. Even before the whole Rashee Rice thing, it was Kansas City, let's get Mahomes another option here, and Schefter's doubling down on this, saying Kansas City, which owns the number 32 pick, would have been expected to look for a wide receiver help even before Rice's troubles. The team had the most drops in the league with 38 last season. Now, it sounds like it's the right draft to add a wideout. To me, there are three options that I believe Kansas City is going to look at. The common name is Xavier Worthy, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, we don't want that to happen. Not that I don't want it to happen. However, Worthy to me is 4.3 fast on a football field. Like, his tape does not show me 4.21 what he ran at the combine. Unbelievably fast. And I know it scares some people, but Worthy does have some drop issues where I honestly think that the better receiver in the NFL is going to be A.D. Mitchell. The other receiver, this is the guy that I do not want to end up in Kansas City because we've seen speed demons. And no matter what, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you're going to get the most out of a guy. The receiver that I don't want to see go to Kansas City is Ladd McConkey because he might not be the most athletic guy, still very athletic receiver. He's a hell of a route runner, and when you look at those numbers, don't look at the numbers. He was in a run-first offense with Georgia that was in the lead a lot of games. If you got Patrick Mahomes, a sure-handed receiver that run routes like Renfro his first 3 years, Ladd McConkey is much more polished than what Renfro was his first 3 years. I don't want to see this combination happen. This one scares the absolute hell out of me. Then, the final thing that we're going to talk about is the Atlanta Falcons potentially losing a pick. I know it says number 8 pick, and if you remember just last year, the Miami Dolphins lost their first-round pick for some tampering issues. Right now, the things that are going on around Atlanta involves I almost said Matt Ryan, with them getting Kirk Cousins. I don't think that the NFL is going to take away the number 8 overall pick, but it is something that is currently being discussed of Atlanta might lose a pick. If they end up losing pick 8, I'll tell you what, it does make it a lot more easier of a conversation for the Raiders to be able to move up and go get a guy like Jayden Daniels. So if you don't already know our live schedule this week, it is as follows. Shugs and I are going to be live Monday and Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Then we're going live 90 minutes early on Thursday and Friday, and then we're going to go live an hour early before the NFL Draft. Take a screenshot, save this, put it in your calendar. We're going to be having a lot of fun here on the Raiders Report. The question is, are you going to be joining us?